Well, hello, good morning and good afternoon. It is the Dynasty Stock Market on Player Profiler News with Big Boned FFB and Dynasty F Key. That's bars, bro. How you doing?
Doing great. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Another fun week in the league.
not for
Week
Raiders or
9,
Cowboys fans, but
I know, man, but
yeah,
we're halfway through, so you got to enjoy it while it lasts because I don't want to say it, but we'll have another long off season ahead of us.
yeah, the both of us. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. Go ahead and get your questions into the chat, comment and like and subscribe and all that stuff. Follow us on Player Profiler _NFL at Player Profiler News. Follow the main channel too, Player Profiler, over on YouTube and on the tweet machine. Get our archive for Player Profiler News at playerprofiler.com/news. And I think I'm going to change it up a little bit today. Typically, I've saved our close wins and bad beats for the end of the show. I'm going to start it off today with that. So, what is your close win and your bad beat this week?
Well, I know I had a close one where, so I'll start with this. Going up against, I believe, the current champ in one league, and I'm also playing the same person in another league. But I won 137 to 133. My final player was Tyrone Tracy, and I didn't really expect this. He's already kind of turning into that weak winner. Unfortunately, he actually left the game right at the end with that head injury, and that was enough just to get me across the line. I thought it was going to be over at 133.4, which is what they had, and I had 133.5. And that's how I thought the game ended. But then somehow the Giants got one more drive, and I think Neighbors got one more catch, who I also had. And it gave it a little bit more separation, but really it was super close matchup, and definitely a much needed win. And it's always nice when you're playing someone in multiple leagues and you get them in both leagues.
Yeah.
I happen to be tanking in the other league, and I beat them also. So they're not too happy because they're first place in both, and I got them in both. So it's a nice one.
I was going, excuse me, I was going up against over on the Undroppables. We have a graphic designer. His name is Dukes. He does some of your stuff on your Uncovered show, and I was playing him in two leagues. One is called Omega. It's a dynasty league that is Undroppables folks, and I co-own with Mike Lindbergh. We co-own a team, and Dukes beat us by 100 points. So that wasn't a great look, but I was also playing him in another Undroppables league, and this is the one that I've talked about a bunch of times on this show. We drafted at 3 a.m. at the expo. Everybody was a little bit in the bag, and I got out to a pretty great lead in that league. I was undefeated, top of the league, highest points scored, and then two of the biggest experts in the industry, Chalk and Jax Falcone, have gone on huge winning streaks while I've been dealing with injuries to Nico Collins, Mike Evans, Jaden Daniels. It is a 3-quarterback league. Two quarterbacks plus a super flex. I do have Trevor, Kyler Murray, CJ Stroud. My first round draft pick was Jaden Daniels, who of course I left on the bench. And in a couple leagues that I have Jordan Love and Jaden Daniels, last week I had Jaden Daniels in. He came back from his concussion, got knocked out of the game, 5 points. So this week, I thought, well, he's questionable. He's a game time decision. I'll run with Jordan Love. He's got the best matchup among quarterbacks in fantasy. Start Jordan Love, sit Jaden Daniels on the bench. Jaden goes off, big Hail Mary at the very end of the game. Jordan Love leaves the game 5.5 points. I hate fantasy. Okay, anyway, so this league, the Dukes, we named it after Dukes. It's the Dukes Classic. We drafted at 3 a.m, top of the head, no computers, nothing. We just had one person writing down the draft picks. Jaden Daniels was my 106, and I got laughed at, and he's QB1. So there you go, Sharps. Who's the expert now? Anyway, I go into Monday night needing a Monday night miracle. I'm down 150.3 to 172.9 I get 23 flat from Tyrone Tracy, and I pull it out 173.3 to 172.9. I won by 0.4 points over Dukes. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Nice.
It certainly made my night. I had one of my worst weeks of the year.
Cheers to Tyrone Tracy. He helped us.
Cheers, Tyrone Tracy. And we've been,
not everybody started him.
All of our shows across all the platforms, all the networks, including this one, we've been telling you to get on the Tyrone Tracy train. A few weeks ago, we told you that he was going to take over for Devin
Singletary,
Dingleberry, right. and yeah, we told you, and now it's happening.
Man, I was just listening to the Player Profiler Network, Fantasy Empire, with some of the sharps over there, and they were talking about how, they weren't able to get Tyrone Tracy into their lineups because they were feeling like there just haven't been enough running back injuries this year compared to years past. So they were, rolling out their usual crop of guys, and the waiver wires haven't been as exciting because there haven't been as many injuries of late. So, the way I've been building my rosters, again, with the wire receiver heavy approach, like I'm kind of forced to start a Tyrone Tracy or guys like this. What's going on, Joe, in the chat? Oh, yeah, that's a close one.
Congrats to Joe. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a close win. And those are sometimes the most satisfying because those are the ones that you can point at a decision that you made that puts you over the top. And a lot of times
100%
when you lose, you lament the decisions that you made. Speaking of running backs, oh no, maybe I didn't share. I thought I bookmarked it. Anyway, let's look at running back efficiency for 2024 so far. The highest success rate is Tyler Algier, and I got a redraft trade offer that I woke up to this morning.
Let me hear
guy
it.
offered me Braylon Allen and Tyler Algier for Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. Why would I give up 2 alpha wide receivers for 2 backup running backs? I don't understand why people do things like that.
Well,
anyway,
bigz, it's just a starting point. Counter.
I did, and
that's the classic reply, though.
I said I'll give you George Pickens for Kenneth Walker, and then he came back trying to give me Algier again. Like that's gonna do anything? It's like it's gonna move a needle. And then he wanted Ladd McConkey, who is on the thumbnail. He had his breakout game, 28 points in PPR.
Yeah,
Ladd McConkey has arrived. Everybody,
let's go.
Only was 8 weeks longer than I thought it would happen. So top of the chart is what's that?
I said blame the coach. He wants to run the ball over and over and over and more and more and more again. It's just brutal.
Right. But Greg Roman has sustained 140 target wide receiver in the past. And I mean, I'm not a professional offensive coordinator, but I can galaxy brain just like anybody else. And if I'm an offensive coordinator and I change systems and suddenly I have a quarterback who doesn't run as much as my running quarterback that I had I adjust my system to fit the needs of the quarterback. Justin Herbert can chuck it. Yes, he can run. We saw that at Oregon, and they didn't want him to do that in LA or San Diego/LA. That's fine. But if I'm Greg Roman and I'm coming over to the system and I see I got Justin Herbert who can dot every part of the field, I'm adjusting my game planning. I'm adjusting my play calling to fit the talents of the quarterback that I have. He had Hollywood Brown with 140 targets one year. There's no reason why there can't be a Chargers wide receiver with 140 targets. That's Ladd McConkey. He's the target guy. And
I would say it's just him developing as a rookie. And he looked great coming out, but I think now he's really going into his own.
He's also the league leader to date for 2024 in missed tackles forced per reception. So we saw that coming out of college. He was like one of the leaders in NCAA, and he's carrying it over to the NFL. You get the ball in his hands, period. So on this efficiency chart, we got Tyler Algier, David Montgomery, and Bucky Irving, just like we all thought. as the most efficient and successful. Zach Moss,
Yeah.
Zach Charbonnet. Don't be a running back with the first name Zach, apparently. And Antonio Gibson, they kind of lead the pack at the bottom. And then as far as EPA per play, we've got Jameer Gibbs, not to be confused with my Twitter name, Jameer Biggs. And Derrick Henry, Brian Robinson, Saquon Barkley, and Tank Bigsby. They're at the top. Tyrone Tracy's right there. Rico Dowdle's up there too. That's EPA per play. So those are some targets. Anyway, what I was trying to find was a tweet that I saw earlier that said, stock up on these running backs instead of grabbing your spare wide receivers off the waiver wire. And I totally agree with it. And I had the list that I wanted to read. And I thought I bookmarked it. I didn't bookmark it. I apparently didn't take a screenshot of it either.
Did I stall it by answering a question?
No, you didn't do anything.
No, I said, can I stall it by answering
a question?
Yeah. Danielle asked, hey, should I trade Kareem Hunt plus David Njoku for James Conner? I get Conner, already have Otten. No. I wouldn't do this trade. Kareem Hunt, I think people want to trade because Isaiah Pacheco is going to be returning, but right now Njoku is a potential top 2 target for Jameis Winston, who was had, I believe, one of the highest pass attempts of the week. That's kind of his MO, over a 300-yard game. He actually broke the record for best QB performance for a Browns debut. So I like David Njoku as a primary target. In the offseason, they were drawing up plays for David Njoku. They wanted him to be a focal point of the offseason, and he ended up starting the season injured, so that didn't go well. They had to kind of pivot a little bit, but he's back in the full flow. I like Njoku. I'll get what I can from Kareem Hunt now and deal with Pacheco's return when it happens, but both players are running backs are susceptible to injury, so I don't want to trade 2 pieces for one James Conner and go all in on the James Conner basket.
Right. And James Conner is just a matter of time. If you want, trade Kareem Hunt for Trey Benson. Anyway, don't do that. All right. Trade Njoku for Russ or Carr plus Komet in a Superflex league. Other current tight end is Ferguson, and quarterbacks are Daniels, A-Rich, and Jameis. I don't know why everybody is trying to jump on this trade away Njoku train. He finally has a quarterback who's going to be efficient at getting in the ball and also be game planned. So hang on to your David Njoku shares. The guy is, he's consistently a top 10 tight end. And Daniel Quintanilla comes back with great. Thank you for the advice, not the Benson one. LOL. Yeah. Although I do like Trey Benson, he is one of the top handcuffs besides Algier and Braylon Allen right now. Jalen Wright maybe probably your top 4 handcuffs, I think. All right, so stop trying to trade Njoku. I have Njoku in my home league, and I also have Brock Bowers. I could definitely move off of Njoku, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to play him in the flex, right?
This is super flex, so it's I understand wanting to acquire a quarterback. And if you think Komet can get you some points, great. But you've got Daniels, A-Rich, and Winston. I think you already got a little stack with Njoku and Winston. You've got enough quarterbacks to get you by here, so.
Right. And I also like Komet though. I think you're winning with Russ. I'm scared of Carr, and I'm a huge Carr fan. I'm just scared of him with that offensive line.
Yeah.
Carr
wouldn't do, especially with Shaheed gone. Carr doesn't get yardage anymore. It's all going to be intermediate area of the field throws. So I'm not too high on Carr. It's a super flex. Yes, you want to do a trade like this. I I don't know. Are you actually going to be starting Russ over these other guys? I know everyone right now wants to bench A Rich, so I get that. But I'm playing Winston over A Rich. My two would be
right
Daniels
now. Yeah.
and Winston. I'd be rolling with those guys. Daniels, I think, has a week 12, 14 bye, so that's the only thing you got to worry about. But like for guys who are going to be in your lineup, I'd rather have Njoku than Komet.
Now, Pareko did come back with, I don't really want to trade him. The other guy is just desperate to try and get him.
Make
Well,
a
if that's the case, then go ahead and leverage that desperation and add on. Get more. You know what I mean? Let's see. Just looking at the market values right now, you got just straight up Njoku for Wilson is not, I mean, it's not that close. So of course you would want to be stacking some more on top of that Russ side. I think Komet would do it, but again, take advantage. Take advantage of that desperation. You can get more.
Yeah, I see some double-digit target games in Njoku's future. So, with Komet, we saw Caleb Williams kind of struggling this last game. I think he'll bounce back. But Caleb Williams had 10 completions this past game. So good luck with Cole Komet.
Right. Right. What about Kareem Hunt and plus Olave for Achane? Concerned on Hunt's usage. Like you said, DFK, need another running back and already have Lamb, Devontae Smith, and Deontay. I do like Deontay moving forward. He does have one of the best second half matchup schedules as long as he stays with the Panthers. But it looks like he's going to be traded, which is one of the reasons why I didn't go ahead and trade him this morning when I had an opportunity. And Achane looks like he's back because Tua's back. That Miami Dolphins offense is going to start motoring again. But maybe, how about this? I'll make you a deal. You go down, you get the injury finder, and figure out what it has to say about Achane, and then we'll talk about that trade.
Hey, you're in your fantasy draft, and someone says, "Hey, that guy's injury prone. I don't want him." And you're like, "I don't know. I don't think you can predict injuries." Well, guess what? Now you can! Injury proneness is real! At Player Profiler, we have the data on these players, and it's all in the Injury Finder app. Their injury track record back through time, exactly where they were injured, how severe it is. We look at the BMI data, and we crunch it all together, and we give you probabilities that a player will miss multiple games this NFL season, as well as the complete database of NFL injuries and the ability to compare two players and look at their injury track record. The Injury Finder is powerful. And it's only $5. If it's worth it to have that peace of mind when you're drafting, go get it.
How'd you like that segue? Just call me the segue king.
Smooth is what I put in our private chat.
That's see, you like to use those. I see that you like to use the private chat and you respond to the comments and I just like I guess my brain is not saying that you're not busy. I'm just like, I can't keep up with it. Anyway, we also have good conversations, you guys. Pareko, I'd start Ferguson over Komet and possibly Jameis over Russ, but that one is close in my opinion. But that Njoku and Jameis stack could be pretty good. Yeah, but if you're not going to play Komet, then why would you want to target him as a trade target?
Yeah, one target, one catch for Komet. He had a great game in the past. It is what it is. But, yeah, I think we said our piece on the Browns, other than, Cedric Tillman and those guys. But they weren't asked about, so we'll keep rolling.
What? Well, I'll ask about it. What do you think about Elijah Moore?
Hey, we're Elijah Moore truthers over here, right? I mean, at least Popfather is. I definitely am, and was so disappointed when it wasn't working out. Felt like it was a wasted pick. But I always believed in the talent, and he was the target leader this day, surprisingly. 12 targets. So, I mean, for me, that's a sign of good things to come. Mari Cooper leaves. Somebody's got to step in and, with Winston just being a more high volume role, people are stepping into a new offense because it's just night and day. Literally, Watson had some of the worst quarterback stats in the past 5 years for quarterbacks. So it just wasn't going very well. But 8 catches, 85 yards. I like Elijah Moore. Trade wise, I think you can still acquire in the third round range. I'm not looking to pretty much ever spend more than that. But yeah, if you can get them on your team, great. If you guys are into redrafts, go pick them up.
Yeah. Somebody, I'm straining my brain trying to think of who it was, but somebody wrote in the Player Profiler world famous draft kit this year, wrote up Elijah Moore and compared him and his career arc to Tyler Lockett, and the fact that it took Tyler Lockett a few years to kind of get going, and that Elijah Moore is on a very similar trajectory, similar skill set and everything. Oh yeah, that was me.
Oh.
So yeah. Yeah, I like Elijah Moore, and not his performance per se. I like his upside. I like his talent. I like what he did as a rookie. I like what he could bring you, and the fact that he's been so cheap has been fantastic. It's obvious in that room, Jerry Jeudy isn't it.
Yeah.
It's Cedric Tillman and Elijah Moore and David Njoku going forward. And they might have something cooking, So,
I'll just add 5 catches for Jeudy, 8 targets. They're trying to get him involved, but really, I definitely see them leaning more towards Elijah Moore. And with the Jets, man, at that time, who was his quarterback? It wasn't good, right? It was Zach Wilson. That was pretty rough. Even now, the Jets haven't figured out quarterback. But point is, this right now is the best quarterback Elijah Moore has ever had. So if he can do it now, this is great. And for Dynasty, this is his contract year because he was traded to the Browns. So now he'll get a chance to go into free agency, and he's going to have every incentive to, in a contract year, ball out.
Absolutely. All right. So we talked about Elijah Moore. We talked about Cedric Tillman. Let's talk about Cade Otton. I know that it was National Tight End Day on Sunday, and in the early slate, I had Red Zone on, and it was just like tight end touchdown, tight end touchdown, tight end. It was crazy.
It set a record, cool. Most tight end touchdowns in history on a single day.
Yeah, and a lot of people are, tight end is a very nebulous position. Number one, you basically have the one spot. Right? Quarterbacks and Superflex, you got 2 places to play them. Running backs usually have two spots. Wide receivers 2 to 3, and then flexes you can throw in there. Typically, good tight ends average around 10 points per game, which is not quite on the level as your flex spots. So tight end is like, if you got one that's giving you 15 to 20 points a week, go for it. In redraft, it's always been a streaming environment. So like basically you can score more points in the tight end position if you're picking up good matchups every week than if you just stick with one guy. Cade Otton is a guy who's been around for a few years, and we've seen his upside, we've seen his spike games and everything. We kind of saw this coming, that with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin going out, Cade Otton might receive a bigger opportunity. That came to fruition this week. So what are we doing with Cade Otton moving forward? Are we establishing him as a top 12 tight end, a guy that we can feel comfortable starting every week, a target? He's on most waiver wires, but are we looking to try and make a move for him if we're struggling at the tight end position, if we faded him, or we've got injury concerns or whatever?
Yeah, and man, the writing on the wall for Otton's career, I think, came in his second year when I think they gave him a captain patch or something like that. I mean, they respect him in the locker room. And this is a guy who now, without a Chris Godwin, who was a guy who took up that middle of the field where tight ends a lot of times occupy space, that's where they're going to have to go to. Right now, we've got until week 11 before we expect Mike Evans to return. So you're getting at least week 9, 10. I forget when their bye is. But you've got at least a few weeks here where you can get some really good production out of him. So yes, absolutely pick him up. Yeah, in redraft, I mean, you got Hunter Henry's on the waivers and Ottens are on the waivers, stuff like that. You'll have some top 10 tight ends that are available. But for Dynasty, he's picked up. But still, if you need a tight end, this is one I would go after. I treat him as a top 10 the rest of the way, even when Mike Evans returned, because this is just complete different role. And if anything, it takes a little pressure off of him. And we'll just say that with Jalen McMillan, your guy, he's still a rookie. That's just a fact. So I can see Baker Mayfield just decision-making wise and even just with Otten's ability to block and release and find the soft spot in the defense. They're going to have a strong role for Cade Otton. As much as we want McMillan to just laser focus and be this amazing guy right now, he kind of disappointed. 7 targets, 4 catches, 35 yards. I'm not saying that next week he won't double that, but Otton's going to have a role no matter what. So I'll take a back end second. I would give for a tight end that I feel really good about putting in my lineup if you got an injury or you're just hurting at the position.
And it is well established that there are 2 different types of tight ends. You have your big slot receivers, guys who are athletic, guys that are going to be lined up offline, like your Brock Bowers, your Dalton Kincaid, to a certain extent. Last year, Sam Laporta. And then you have your inline tight ends, and we've seen immediate results from guys that were big slots. We also see that it usually takes 3 to 4, sometimes 5 years for tight ends who are inline tight ends to learn the blocking schemes and also get comfortable out in the open. So it takes a few years for that breakout to happen. And it looks like that's starting to finally come together for Cade Otton. Everything is kind of coming together, and he's about to go off. So especially in your dynasty leagues, this could be a guy that is going to be a staple in your lineup for the next 3 to 4 years if he can continue this kind of success.
Yeah, that was the mistake I made. I had him in some dyno leagues where I dropped him a little prematurely because I just wasn't seeing anything. I was like, oh, he's just going to block. Well, yeah, you just nailed it right there.
And in my home league, he is the one player who has been owned by more teams than anybody else. He's been like added and dropped. When you go to their history on Sleeper, it's like it takes up your whole screen. Yeah. Because we've all had him at one point, just waiting on the talent to happen. And it's there are jokes in our group chats about Cade Otton and how he's been passed around so much. That are very inappropriate, and I won't get into.
Well, oh my God, yeah. I didn't say what my big loss of the week was.
Oh, okay.
But it's related to Cade Otton because it was in one of the leagues or the league where I dropped Cade Otton, and I'm playing against the guy who has Cade Otton, but he's actually winless and gets his first win of the year against me.
Oof.
Rough times. He actually just went off on me. He also had Trey McBride. He was starting multiple tight ends, as you would expect the bad team to do, because there weren't many other options. But it worked out this week and really blew the doors off of me. I think they got 173 to my 134. Actually, every top 3 or 2 of the top 3 teams lost. So it doesn't really hurt my standings. I'm still like tied for second, but it was just kind of a shocker to lose there. They also had Purdy, Ramondre Stevenson, Zay Flowers had a game. I don't know. It doesn't even look like they did that well. My team probably just stunk the bed this week. I don't know. Yeah. Brutal.
Yeah, I didn't have any close losses, but I did lose in my home league. Like I mentioned, I started Jordan Love. Breece Hall didn't do anything for me.
He was in my lineup.
I'm struggling with running backs in that league, and the best I could have gone with was Roschon Johnson. I had to go with Kendre Miller because he had such a good week the week before. but yeah, that it didn't work out. Brock Bowers only had 10 points, which 10.8 points. That's pretty standard for a tight end. That's a great floor. And you look at it and it's 5 of 5 for 58 yards against the Chiefs. Like that's not terrible. And I'm like,
great defense.
No, so it was really, there wasn't a whole lot I could do. I could have swapped out Darnell Mooney he outscored all of my wide receivers, but that league,
Mooney's good like every 3 games.
Yeah, and especially against the Buccaneers, I should have known, but
repeat. Yep.
My other wide receivers had really good matchups. Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't do too bad. George Pickens had a 30-point game that was reduced to 11 points by bad calls and penalties.
That's right.
Malik Neighbors, a pedestrian.
We have the same team. Yeah, I have Diggs with Bowers, Neighbors, Brees. Yeah,
we have the same team because we load up on those draft picks.
Yeah, man. But on my bench, I left Garindo, which is understandable. But Tracy, I left Tank Dell, Josh Downs. Both had like 0-point games the week before. Breaking news: Texans, Stephon Diggs.
I was just going to say that.
Torn ACL, missed the remainder of the season. So speaking of Tank Dell, and not only that, right now the guy who I just said was my bad beat, he just told me, I just noticed you have more points on your bench than in your lineup. Yep.
You know what? Mike Lindbergh was talking to me about that on our Waiver Wire show on another network this morning. We recorded it last night. But he was telling me about having more points on the bench than in the lineup. So don't host a show with me, because then you'll start doing that.
Oh my God. Brutal times. Yeah, I'm going to tag him, tell him to jump in the chat.
All right. So you beat me to the breaking news. Stephon Diggs is out. We have let's talk about this Houston Texans offense then. Joe Mixon is having himself another season, another career year. Tank Dell, is he the dude?
Yeah, man. I was just trying to set the lineup for next week, and it's like, how's he going to do with all of the coverage on him? So last year there was no Stephon Diggs, right? We did have Nico Collins in the mix. I think this is going to be good for Dell overall, though, because the target's got to go somewhere. Mechie, I wish we could get him to just elevate a little bit more, but it just doesn't. We're going to see who steps up here, but they're needing Nico Collins back. His IR stint should be over in the next week, but we'll see how healthy he is actually to return. But yeah, like Joe says in the chat, Tank Dell's last man standing. So he's going to definitely get targets. He's CJ Stroud's buddy. Yep. Dalton Schultz, he'll get involved. And that's what you need. Going into the draft season, I was only drafting tight ends that were a top 2 target in their offense. Mm-hmm. And that's Schultz right now. So Schultz should have some big weeks ahead.
And Nico will be back November 10th. So just one more week without him. And I like to say that I'm never wrong, just either early or late. And so I want to say that Xavier Hutchinson, I was just a little bit early on, because I thought that he was going to be doing okay once Nico went out, and then they still had Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell in that offense. Xavier Hutchinson hasn't done anything still, but handcuffed just in case.
Who is it again?
Xavier Hutchinson.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, just in case, this is a good opportunity for one of those guys to elevate. I just don't have a ton of confidence in it.
Me either now, because I've already added him and then dropped him again. But I don't think that they're going to change up too much, especially with Nico presumably only missing one more week. He'll be back after the next week, so I don't think they're gonna try and adjust too much. We also, this is Player Profiler News channel, and we've got news breaking all over the place. We brought you Stephon Diggs as early as anybody else. Also, you're here. You can hear this too. Joe Flacco has been announced as the starter moving forward for the Indianapolis.
Let's
Indianapolis
go.
Colts.
It
Anthony
sucks for
Richardson
your
is
A-Rich share. Who was that? Danielle or is it
Daniel.
Parecchio? But yeah, I know you were looking at a quarterback, but we were talking about starting Jameis anyway. But yeah, it's good for Josh Downs. I love that Josh Downs had a good game with A-Rich. They have that Ricky connection together, but I feel more confident actually starting Josh Downs, who again was on my bench. I feel more confident now knowing that Joe Flacco was in the game and A-Rich is healthy. So this is a healthy benching. At the end of that game, people were speculating if he was hurt because he tapped himself out of the play. He said he was just tired from running all over the place. Well, Flacco's not going to be tired. He's just tired of watching A-Rich miss all these receivers all over the place.
Yeah. I saw a tweet earlier today that said A-Rich on tape looks miles better than the stats say, which is fine. We know we know he's the next Josh Allen. Whatever.
Yeah, I saw that tweet.
It's just not. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, what's the theory behind it then? For you? Do you think? And I think the answer is yes. You're supposed to let this guy develop. My question was going to be: do you just let A-Rich develop with sacrificing wins in exchange for letting your quarterback of the future potentially? You know, this is a rough spot. You know, a lot of times this won't be the quarterback of the future if it's going down this path.
Yeah. I am an incubate your quarterbacks kind of guy. Like I
let them play.
No.
Oh, incubate, like don't let them play, like let them watch and learn. Yeah,
work it out and with the second team, you know, work it out with the practice squad. Because if you have good practices, right, and if you are scouting the opposing defenses really well, and your practice squads are able to put together defensive schemes, then that quarterback can still learn how to deal with opposing defenses while they're getting the second team reps or while they're getting the practice squad reps, etc. So it still benefits him whether he's getting like real-time play or not. And obviously, you know what you have with Joe Flacco, and the dude is a savvy veteran. And if you want to win, he's the best path to that. So
wow.
let's revisit this a little bit. Trading Njoku for Russ or Carr. My quarterbacks are Daniels, A-Rich, and Jameis Winston. How does this change your calculus?
So now you've got two quarterbacks, and guys, let's just fully expect A-Rich will get another start this year. We saw with Bryce Young, he gets benched for Dalton. They pretend Dalton's hurt in a car accident. He's not really hurt, and they find a way to get Bryce Young back in the mix because they do want to see what have they learned while being on the bench. So A-Rich will be back, all right? And you can't sell A-Rich if this is Dynasty. This is a buy low for people who are buying, but don't sell low. There's no reason to. Next time he's starting, his value is already going up. But for this trade, I don't know. I think I'm very confident in what Russ is doing right now. So Russ is a fine piece to have. Holding forever, yeah. Russ is a fine piece to have. I mean, you got to get a quarterback. I mean, I think. Can you get something else other than Kmet though? It sounded like there were they had other options at the tight end spot. So, I wouldn't make it Kmet. Like maybe other player who's a top 2 target in their offense. But I do like getting Russ, especially now knowing that you're in a bind.
Same page. I had that exact same thought. And you know, Joe Flacco, he's been great.
Yeah. And you see, look, the Steelers have had to make this choice. It was to switch from Russell to Russell from Justin Fields. So we see teams, the coaches, they are doing what's in the best interest of the team. Even with the Panthers, like I mentioned, that was week 3 they made that change. They did, of course, they had last season, and A-Rich was injured part of last season, so they couldn't see too much. But I don't know what's his problem. He only likes to throw the deep ball, like A-Rich, and he's leaving a lot on the table.
I didn't need that reminder on the when the Panthers changed their quarterback.
Oh, God.
Yeah, the Raiders changed their quarterback. The Cowboys are about to change their
No.
quarterback.
Yeah, okay.
Speaking of Trey Lance,
Uh,
where do you have Trey Lance moving forward?
I can't believe you're wasting the good people's time with this.
I'm not. I'm just joking around. All right. So let's get into some trades. We got slow computers freezing up and stuff.
Are we on Dynasty Daddy here?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's checking out the trade database. Our top trades over the last 30 days. Top 2, D-Hop and Ayuk. Yeah. Let's look at some D-Hop trades real quick.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this. We weren't sure how much this was going to help. Like, you were all in on Worthy. Okay, Worthy did get his TD, so that bailed him out in this last game. But every Amari Cooper, he needed time to get acclimated.
Mm-hmm.
You see, Hopkins will need some time as well. So give him a little bit of grace. I see him as a red zone target for Patrick Mahomes. Kelsey, depending on the format, put up a 30-burger. Had his best game of the season. It was tight end day. We'll take that with a grain of salt. But Hopkins, he's going to have a role. He's always been a target getter, so I think he'll get there. Only 3 targets in this past game. It just seems weird for Hopkins. So I wish I had the snaps right in front of me. But anyway, yeah, that's someone that I'm fine getting, but I don't want to pay a second, to be honest. I'm out. I'm okay with just finding other options. Like, give me Elijah Moore, who is free in some dynasty waivers. Give me a lot of other guys. I'd rather pay that second for Cedric Tillman than trying to go get Hopkins.
He went straight up today for Christian Kirk. You doing that?
Yes. I think Kirk's career is in flux right now.
Gabe Davis and Alec Pierce.
Yes. For Hopkins, yeah, fine.
You're giving up Gabe Davis and Alec Pierce.
Yeah, I'm fine. So Pierce, he's getting the quarterback change. There's just, I think that's going to benefit Pittman and Downs. It'll still be streaky, and I don't really want the third target there.
Second rounder?
No.
This is an interesting one. Jonathan Brooks and Cedric Tillman.
Ooh.
For D-Hop, Kamara, Kirk, and a second rounder.
Wow. Yeah, I think you do the trade. You take the D-Hop Kamara side. Brooks, regardless of when he comes back, the team has low touchdown upside, and Chuba Hubbard looks great. He's not going anywhere, especially when the guy's coming off an injury. So you're not really getting a good 2024 from Jonathan Brooks, I don't think. So it's really just all on the back of Cedric Tillman. And I think there's some games where Hopkins might outscore Tillman.
Straight up for Brian Robinson.
My bad. I was thinking Brian Thomas. My brain exploded. I'll take Brian Robinson. And just,
me too.
I need the running backs.
D-Hop and Cup for a 27 first.
I'll take 27. Yeah, I'll take it regardless.
If I'm competing, I think I would do that. That said, I had designs on D-Hop having a good year, and it didn't happen.
It still can, but even Cooper Kupp, again, just came back from injury, so there might be more in store for him. It looked like, the Puka Nacua show taking over, but I think both these guys can still eat. There's actually more in store for both players, potentially, for this season.
So I mentioned that Brandon Ayuk was next in terms of the most traded. We're not going to get into that because he's not having a good time right now.
Yeah, buy low. That's all you can say, really.
Let's talk about Amari. What are we looking at for Amari?
We got a Waddle question there. For Amari, I think him having that bad game is great. He's obviously a great quarterback, so yeah, I'll trade a late second for him. So I'm looking at the next class, and I'm seeing a lot of running backs I definitely want at that early second range. I can see
Jay
a lot of
Knott.
that. Yeah. There's too much action in that earlier part for me to want to, move off for Cooper, but he's going to produce. The games are coming. If Keon Coleman can do it, I think Cooper absolutely can do it. This guy is a really savvy route runner, so he'll be getting open, and I think he's got a lot of points coming in the later half of the season. That maybe that final quadrant here, but could be as soon as next week, to be honest.
I'll give you guys a little scoop, a little preview on the 2025 draft. The California Golden Bears are not exactly in the national consciousness talent-wise, even though they continuously pump out solid NFL players. They got a running back right now who's coming out with this class. He'll be a junior declare, which is like that's what you want to see in his profile. He's a pass catcher. His name is Jaden Ott, OTT.
Zach Charbonnet.
Right, but he's got all the skills, and here's what makes this a scoop. He was last season. They were like, let's give him some opportunities to return some kicks. See what we just want to get the ball in his hands. See what he can do with it. First kickoff return to the house. Let's go. Those are the kinds of skills that you want to see.
This is a deep class, man.
It is very deep, and he should be second round in the rookie drafts. He'll likely be a third or fourth rounder in the NFL. But he's got the skill set, he's got the talent, and he's not Ashton John T, so nobody's talking about him. All right, what are your comments on Waddle's impact moving forward? Should I trade him? So here's the thing about Dynasty, well, any fantasy format that not except for best ball, any fantasy format involving trades, there's nobody who's untouchable. There's nobody who's not tradable. It's just a matter of what the package is, what you're getting back for it. So depending on what you're looking for from Waddle, yeah, you should trade him.
Yeah, and you waited for the right time for Tua to return, and you know that unfortunately there is a likelihood, if you saw the last ad for Injury Finder, there's a likelihood that Tua gets re-injured, so you might want to make a move on that here in the next week or so. And if you're talking about it, then whether you're a rebuilder or not, I think it makes sense. You can tier off of Waddle. Maybe he's, what would you call him, like a tier 3 receiver with if Tyreek Hill was gone, maybe he'd be higher, but until Tyreek's gone, we don't see the targets coming for Waddle. So in that way that he had his rookie season, which was incredible. So I mean, I'm willing to move off. I don't know if you were trying to pull up the trade database on it.
I got it.
Okay.
Straight up for Anthony Richardson.
Well, yeah, I would do that. Just to buy low on Richardson in Superflex. I'm seeing a kind of crazy, like a Waddle, a 25 first, 26 first for Neighbors.
Cooper Kupp, straight up.
For Waddle, yeah, I would take that production. It feels weird, but man, once Kupp gets injured again, we're gonna hate it. But
Dalton Schultz and Jordan Mason coming back for Jalen Waddle. I'd do that.
I want Waddle over that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying I would trade away Jalen Waddle for Schultz and Mason.
Jordan Mason's time's up, man.
Are you sure about that?
They're on a bye, so you don't get anything this week. He's coming off of his second injury, and they drafted a rookie in Isaac Guerrero, who's had multiple big games. And then you also have Christian McCaffrey coming at some point, which was reported to be the next game. And I'm assuming that's not going to happen, by the way. But even still, what has Mason done the past few weeks? He did nothing this last game, 1.8 points, and then the few weeks before that, 9 points each game. And then it was really just the first 3 games of the season where he was good. He hasn't done anything the past few weeks.
That's okay. I hear
Waddle's
you.
good. Like Schultz. I don't care about Schultz too much long term once Nico's back. Just to finish it on that, but yeah, I'll take Waddle in that spot.
Mason is a restricted free agent. If he goes somewhere and they have a plan for him, he could hit over time.
You're right.
I have zero faith in Waddle. And especially a lot of these trades, 25. He's going for a first rounder. I would not give up a first rounder for Jalen Waddle. You can get a much better wide receiver in the draft. With a 25
they
first
have straight
rounder
up, straight up for a first. I'm seeing, so because there's gonna be some juice in this class. He's a good player, but Tyreek's is gonna be on the team at least one more season. And even then, if the quarterback certainty isn't there, we see what happens. So his value is very high. It was really just that one trade. I'm like, I don't know about that. But a lot of these, I'm hitting the button. See you, Waddle.
Let me just take a quick look at this. I don't know why my internet is just being so slow right now. Okay. Finishes in his first 4 seasons in the NFL. Finishes PPR wide receiver 13, PPR wide receiver 8, PPR 34, and so far this year is PPR 63. Now, granted, that's with Tua's injuries. Tua was injured in 2022 when Waddle finishes wide receiver 8, and he's been injured this year as a 63 finish, or he's currently at wide receiver 63. He does have top 12 upside, but he just hasn't been able to put it together. And when you see guys that start to create that history, a lot of times it doesn't pan out, and we tend to his upside, right? But how often does it actually come to fruition?
Yeah, and guys, like bigz is saying in another way, we just talked about Hopkins. Hopkins has had some of the worst quarterback play ever, but he overcame that, right? So that's kind of what you're talking about. It's like, is this a guy who can transcend just the quarterback players? He's just a guy that it needs the perfect situation.
Sure, but I mean, even somebody like Tyreek Hill wasn't able to overcome.
I mean, that was third string quarterback. It was rough.
It was very rough. All right. I say we break it down. Let's get out of here. Get on with our days.
Appreciate everybody in the chat. Great show, y'all.
Yeah.
Thanks for holding us down.
We'll be back next week, 10 o'clock. Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, check us out next week on Tuesday. It's going to be another crazy week here on the Dynasty Stock Market. So we'll stay locked in and, let you know who you need to be, keeping your eye on. Check out my show, Dynasty Football Key. Been doing waivers, pick'ems, start sits on Sundays. So make sure you guys are ready to go after all of the injury news rolls in. And appreciate Danielle, new subscriber. Subscribe to all the channels, Dynasty F Key, Player Profiler main page, Player Profiler News. We're trying to get this channel up and going just as strong as the main platform. Mm-hmm. And we're also over at the Undroppables breaking down individual teams. So if you got some teams that you're a fan of, we got most of them covered over there. So bigz obviously got the Raiders held down. And, it's sad times. We're trying to keep it positive for our squads over there. I'm doing the Cowboys. But either way, we love the game. And, hey, we're at the halfway point of the season, so stay locked in. It's not over yet. It ain't time to quit, y'all. Let's go win these championships.
It's just a time to get started. All right. Watch us Tuesdays, 10 in the morning. my time, 1 in the afternoon over on the East Coast, noon for DFK. Go subscribe, especially like Daniel. Go to the Player Profiler main page on YouTube. Subscribe to that. We got the Thursday night tailgate before the Thursday night game, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, with me and Mike Lindbergh.
Houston
also,
Jets.
Also, Player Profiler Today on Friday. Watch all the Player Profiler Today shows. They're daily, but me especially on the Friday show. I got my boy Chev at Chev90. He's co-hosting that with me, bringing you player news and everything. Hey, listen, if you go to put in the little search bar thing, the word dot period cards / big boned FFB, go to that. That'll give you a link to my Fantasy Sports Advice Network. That'll give you a link to the Undroppables YouTube channel. That'll give you a link to the Player Profiler and Player Profiler News, my Twitter, all of that stuff. You can find all of our shows, and it's just that one simple link. You can, and just go do that. /cards / big boned FFB. And that just makes it easier for everybody.
Awesome, man. Nailed it. Right. Great show.
It's kind of like a link tree, but you can scan the QR code on the back of my phone. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Good luck in week 9, everybody. And some of you I will see on Thursday night.
Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.
All right.